Dams, deforestation, and encroachment. Let's take a deeper dive into Thailand's worst flooding in living memory. I'm Dave Kendall. I'm a senior reporter and producer with the Bangkok Post, and I've been based in Thailand since 2005. On Deeper Dive, I take you beneath the surface of the big issues here in Thailand. Please share and follow this podcast, and you can watch the full video version on Spotify. In the second half of 2024, 42 out of the 77 Thai provinces faced flooding. At least 50 people were killed, and billions of baht were lost in damages to property and farmland. The flooding was particularly severe in the northern provinces of Chiang Rai and Chiang Mai. In the central district of Chiang Mai, the Ping River reached a historic high of 5.3 meters and overflowed for the first time. Thousands were evacuated by boat. So, what caused it? It's easy to blame climate change, and sure, it had an effect, but rather than global boiling in general, experts say it was specific human activities that were to blame for the flooding across the kingdom. The release of water from hydropower dams upstream, particularly in China and Laos, causes acute flooding and erodes the riverbanks. Encroachment on the river, by building structures next to the banks or that jut into the river itself, blocks drainage and prevents construction of flood barriers. But the larger issue is deforestation, partly for mining activities, but mostly to plant feed crops for animal agriculture. Forests don't just absorb carbon, they also absorb water. And when we cut them down, the water cascades down the fields, taking the topsoil with it and causing the invasion of mud we've seen this year. Here to unpack the layers of Thailand's flood crisis is Pai Pianborn Ditet, Campaign Director for the Southeast Asia Program at International Rivers. Kun Pai, thanks very much for joining us here on Deeper Dive. More than half of Thai provinces have been flooded this year, and particularly the northern provinces of Chiang Mai and Chiang Rai. I understand you're originally from an area that was flooded. Is that right?
Yes, I'm a daughter of Chiang Rai. I was born here.
And have you been back to your hometown? Can you describe what the flooding was like?
Yeah, I would say that each of the flood in different provinces along in northern Thailand as well as northern Laos and connecting to Myanmar around the Golden Triangle that happened around late August, early September. The key factors been the heavy rain, unusual heavy rains that collect high volume of rainwater for like during 7 to 10 days that cause flash floods in many areas along in the upper Mekong as well as the Gok and the Ping and other river basins that cause like damage to housing, cities and facilities and structures in the area. In many cases, particularly in my hometown in Mae Sai in Chiang Rai, the flood is not just water, because our understanding is that flood is high water, right? Large volume of water. But in the case of Chiang Rai and Mae Sai, is of mud, which cause after flood effect to the area, meaning the sediment and mud clog in houses, in the factories, in the guest house or hotels. That makes it worse case that we have ever experienced.
And where does this mud come from?
Yeah, that's a question. We've tried to after the incident, after the flood, we try to find out where this from. So in the case of Mae Sai, the Mae Sai River emerged from the hills in Myanmar, in Chan State of Myanmar, and it flowed to Thailand as a border with Chan State, Mae Sai and Tha Khilek province of Myanmar. So lots of lots of effort have been made to explore what happened in the upper reaches in Myanmar side. And some of satellite imagery show that they are mining, could be gold mining or other kind of mining. It seems to be illegal, or because in Myanmar after the coup 3 years ago, there is no such laws in place. So there's lots of activities in like open site for mining in the upper reaches of the Masai River, as well as a plantation, monocrop plantation that can be a major cause of a mud flood in Masai district of Chiang Rai, as well as Takilek district of Myanmar. But in Myanmar, there's less reports because of the absence of journalism or civil society space. So that's less report over there. But I'm sure that there are also severe impacts over there, both sides of the river too.
But also in Thailand, there's been a lot of deforestation over the last 20 years in order to plant corn for animal feed. Just explain exactly why deforestation, and in this case, the mining activities, why does that cause flooding? How do the trees, in other words, how does a forest stop a flood from occurring?
Yeah, in this, because there are lots of smaller incidents happening here and there, like the Ban Hue Hin Lat Nai, which had a flash flood, also mud flood, but it's from the large forest. So I could say that extreme weather happening in this area during that time, during that 2 months, that 6 weeks, but the deforestation just worsen or exacerbate the flood effect on population. It caused the large volume of mud and sediment flowing into the cities, flowing into village and the towns. So I would say that exacerbate the cause, and even 2 days is already over a month. The recovery activity is still happening in Masai district of Chiang Rai. The heavy machine are still working to bring the sediment out, or mud out of the houses of people.
Yeah, it's more difficult to get rid of the mud than the water, I presume.
Yes, exactly. And many cases, sorry.
Well, is it a case then that deforestation, when you haven't got the tree roots are helping absorb the water and hold the soil together? Is that how it works?
Exactly. So when the headwater or in the upstream, when there is a open space or corn plantation or mining activities, that just worsen the situation, worsen the disaster. And I would say, apart from deforestation, the lack of law enforcement on flood-prone encroachment also one of the key factors that worsen the situation. We have to accept that when we look back on the older photos of the Masai River or the Makok River in Masai and in Chiang Rai town, we can see that the old river course was larger than this. But after years, after decades, when there was no big flood, people tend to encroach to the old river course, and the law enforcement was not there. So smaller village become bigger village, become a town, become a city. So when the flood happen like this, it become disaster. So people have to lose their housing, their belongings, and many cases that I went to help, they just lost everything, or the house like flood just swept away. So I would say that there are multiple factors, but one important thing is that we have to recognize the old river course. We have to recognize the flood prone area and how to cope with changing more extreme climate weather.
So when you say encroachment, you're talking about building structures right over the river or into the river, and how does encroachment cause flooding exactly?
Yeah, exactly. I would say that lots of, according to information from one historian in Chiang Rai that I discussed with him, trying to understand what's the real cause of this flood in Chiang Rai city, in the Chiang Rai town. And he showed the old imagery of the ancient Chiang Rai, like about 80 years ago. And I just understand that even my foundation, my mom's foundation office in Pa Nghiu village of just outskirts of Chiang Rai town, is happened to be in Hong Li, which means the old river course. So our office is right there on the old river, and we didn't know that, but now we know already. So how the municipality, how the government will subsidize the can be some of them can be relocation, some of them can be the adaptation of the housing structure, how to move further from the river course, or how to up the structure of the housing to be able to deal with this current and changing climate.
Is it then that when you build a structure right on a river bank, does that weaken the bank? Does it block drainage?
Yes, exactly. And one of the largest real estate project on the bank of the Mekok River, it's just opposite to Chiang Rai town, Ban Thanarak, all the 300 houses and most of the villas there, the residents there are even judge or doctors. They're like better off kind of housing over there. The whole village swept away, and so we have to understand that this happened and it will happen again, and it happened in the past. But it didn't happen for 80 years. So I think it's more about the question, how to question this, how to find evidence, how to sit together, every stakeholders, and how to find a way out in a constructive manner and in adaptive manner. And we also have to think about nature-based solution. Some of the topics that we discuss is a sponge city, or using more area to receive water, and not to fight the nature, but how to understand it and how to live with it in constructive, in adaptive manners.
So sponge city is the concept that a city can have areas either outside the city or within the city that absorb water.
Exactly.
Including permeable asphalt. Is that right? Is that a
Yeah, as well
possibility
as
here in
yeah,
Thailand?
as well as increasing wetlands area and the area where it can receive flood in the future. In many parts of Chiang Rai, for example, like the Chiang Rai airport itself, the Mae Fah Luang airport, is built on the old wetlands. So that's how when even the airport itself, but surrounding areas, surrounding villages and communities already flood and receive large volume of flood water. So I think we have to understand that, and it's not to blame anyone, but it's about how to understand the nature, how to understand the changing weather and climate, and how to collectively solve this problem together. And I think the government and the government agencies might have to change its mind about thinking about how to use engineer to fight with the nature, to adapt ourselves to the nature. In many cases, like Sukhothai or Nakhon Sawan, or a central part of central Thailand's
Thailand.
cities, they have the flood wall to distinct the river and the city or the community. But I think that can, in many cases around the world, it shows that the flood wall can be very dangerous once it breaks, and the impacts will be even more severe. So I think for the cities or town in northern region, I would recommend nature-based solution, and like the flood, the 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 flood, the flood wall won't work right here. But I think how about the diversion, the smaller diversion using the bypass highway, or moving some of the very dangerous areas, communities to other places. But this should not be forced relocation, but it should be constructive way, how to include everybody's concern, how to compensate adequately. So it's all about the whole set of questions, whole set of topics to be discussed. And I think we should discuss this right now, not waiting until the next rainy season to come.
Yeah, I mean, the Thai government is always fond of infrastructure projects. This is kind of a nature-based infrastructure project. I presume some of the communities that might need to be relocated, that could actually be turned into wetland. Is that possible?
Yeah, I know that this is very difficult, but sometimes but it's time for us to accept this is it, right? So we have to live with it.
Yeah.
How to live with it in constructive way, how to talk to, how to consult meaningfully with the communities that live right there, like in the case of Masai, those living right on the bank of the river need to be relocated. But how to do this in a friendly manner, in a participatory manner, that's a key question, I would say.
Yeah, and how to raise the money in order to compensate them. And
I would say
uh,
that Thailand have more than enough of the budget, but how to allocate them in the accountable way, not to build too much infrastructure, but how to build the participation, which might cost even less money, but less corruption, less chance of corruption, of course, right?
yeah,
So
corruption
yeah,
is always a major issue in Thailand. So
yeah,
how
yeah.
to do this where the money actually gets spent on what it's
Hmm.
intended for.
Exactly.
We've talked about encroachment. We've talked about deforestation. What about dams? What impact? I mean, I presume when a dam releases a lot of water, that's going to cause potential flash floods. But how else do dams cause flooding?
In case of Chiang Rai and Phayao and on the Mekong River, which most of the river flowing directly to the Mekong River, like the case of the Masai and Nam Ruak River, Mekok River, as well as the Ing River and the Ngao River. The flood that happened during the past 2 months has something to do with dams on the Mekong too, because of the also the rain also happened in southern Yunnan, and dams up there in Yunnan province also have to release water. So we can see that we saw that the water to be released from the flood area in Chiang Rai release slower because of the high volume of the Mekong River flow. So it is important if for the case of the Mekong and the case of the international river like this, it is important for riparian government to talk to each other and to how to manage the dams upstream to also responsible to the flood in downstream area. We are not blaming anyone, but I think it's time to look at all the problem and how to solve this together. Of course, dams up there, 12 dams in Yunnan province, keeping huge volume of water. And when it rains, it also need to release water. But how to manage, how to operate those cascade dam with recognition of the downstream disaster too.
Yeah, well, you don't want to blame anybody, but it also sounds like you're saying part of the flooding was caused by the dams in the southern Chinese province of Yunnan. So
But I see that
how do you get them? Do you
yeah,
have a
sorry.
dialogue? I mean, does Thailand have a dialogue with the Chinese government? Are they talking to them about saying, please, can we manage the release of water together? Because it's an international issue.
Yeah, we saw the news that the office or the Office of Water Resource, the National Water Resource, already submit a letter to China to asking them to operate the dams with recognition of downstream flood and disaster. And I hope that would be among the key first steps to communicate directly with China. And I believe that Chinese as an upstream superpower need to also listen to downstream neighbors because we are sharing this water course together. And even though in half of it is called Lanchang River, which is treated as a domestic river, but it flows to downstream countries, to Thailand, to Laos, to Cambodia, to Vietnam. So it is
Right.
important for neighbors to talk to each other and listen to each other.
Sure. Sure. Just coming back to Chiang Mai, we saw the shocking footage of the entire communities along the Ping River underwater. You're saying that a nature-based solution is far preferable to building a flood wall along the Ping River in Chiang Mai, and there was even a plan to build an underground drainage canal system under the city of Chiang Mai. And it seems like solutions like that are really not going to the root cause of the flooding. There's also talk about, well, we must build flood barriers around specific properties. Wouldn't it be better to just attack the root of the problem?
Yeah, I think the asking about the root of the problem, I think it would be very difficult to identify one or two uh, problem. I would say that it multiple, at least a few factors like the heavy rains, the encroachment of flood-prone area, the regulation of dams and weir along the Ping River, for example, and the case of Chiang Mai and Lamphun flood also, they are collective water volume, or not only from the Ping, but also from the Ngat, the Mae Ngat dams, also from the Mae On and other Mae Khan, other rivers around that basin, that area of Chiang Mai and Lamphun basin. So there are multiple factors over there, but one thing for sure is that the urbanization in the area, in this flood-prone area, but the communities already there, the cities and factories and industrial estate already situated there, how to deal with flood prevention in, I would say that in the ways that there are options, not just single solution. For example, the bypass of the flood water to the western side, to the eastern side, or moving or larger the flood the canals or the Ping River in some area, reduce the volume of water into the cities. There are multiple ways. I'm not able to give you one answer on this, but I think the most important thing is that to recognize the real problem and identify the key factors and have a consultation with multiple stakeholders, the experts, the engineers, the farmers, the urban dwellers, and academics. Those people will collectively find the solution together, not just Royal Irrigation Department or Ministry of Interior alone. I believe that
Yeah.
collectively we can, but I still don't see this process of consultation or meaningful consultation with different stakeholders.
People are not really talking them. They're not taking responsibility and they're not talking to each other and to the right people in the right way. Is that what you're saying? Not yet.
Yeah, I think that this never happened before, and this is our new challenge. If the government thinking about collectively solving this together and have a public forum, have a consultation with different experts, I'm sure that there will be ways to find solution, constructive solution together and prevent the next disaster. Because when this disaster hit a city or hit a town, of course everybody got injured or got affected, but those poorest are the one who hit the most. Those marginalized are the one who can recover the last.
Yeah, it's like climate change itself. The people
Exactly.
most affected are the people with the least resources to deal with
Yes,
the problem.
exactly. Yeah.
Thank you very much. And how can people contact you and the International Rivers Network?
Yeah, International Rivers is a very small global NGOs that we work to defend for rights of rivers and local communities that depends on rivers. We have our website, www.internationalrivers.org, and you can find my contact over there. And yeah, very happy to share my thoughts here with you, David. And yeah, I think this will be a starting point. And coming soon will be the haze, the PM 2.5. So northern region has been suffering already with the transboundary haze, and we just experience affect the flood. So I think it's very important for us to find a solution soon. Otherwise, half flood and half haze. So
I think some people don't always draw the connection that the deforestation to plant corn is causing both the haze and also one of the causes of the flooding. So it's important to make that connection. Pai Pianbon Dite, thank you for joining us here on Deeper Dive.
thank you so much สวัสดีค่ะ
What are the takeaways? Pai says some of the flooding in Thailand was caused by release of water from dams in the Chinese province of Yunnan. The flooding in Chiang Mai was partly due to illegal mining activities in Myanmar's Shan state, as well as deforestation on both sides of the border in order to plant corn for animal feed, a cause of both flooding and the annual toxic haze that blights northern Thailand. And Pai particularly stressed encroachment on the rivers by houses, villages and whole towns. She says that some communities at particular risk of flooding need to be voluntarily relocated, and buildings should follow the model of sponge cities with permeable asphalt, lakes inside the town and wetlands just outside it. Most of all, she says, all stakeholders need to recognize that the problems have several interlocking causes and need to be solved holistically, using long-term solutions, not quick fixes like flood barriers. For more information and to learn how you can get involved, visit internationalrivers.org. Thanks for watching and listening. Please comment, rate and share the podcast, and tell your friends to search for Deeper Dive Thailand wherever they get their podcasts. Our email address is deeperdivetthailand@gmail.com. As always, keep up with all the latest Thai and international news on bangkokpost.com. I'm Dave Kendall, and I'll see you again soon for another Deeper Dive Thailand.